Good everyone. I hope you guys have an amazing day. So what I'm going to do today, I'll teach you guys about some of the aspects around the sales performance and how to make sure that your sales team is motivated. Now you must be thinking why I'm talking about the sales. The reason why I'm talking about sales is because we are covering um, a topic about Sales Cloud, right? The Sales Cloud consultant shouldn't have a bigger understanding about the sales process. Otherwise, they will find it very difficult to suggest or recommend any improvements from a sales perspective using Salesforce as a tool, right? Now, as you know that, right, in every business, right? I mean, I run a company, I run a training company, I run a change foundation. The core foundation of any company is the sales, right? Because you can have a great product, but if there's no one to sell it, then it makes it very difficult for you to sell your product to wider group, right? So now selling is great, but that being said, how do you measure, your sales performance, right? For instance, if I, as a business, if I wanted to bring, say, $1 million this year, how do I ensure that I can bring the $1 million worth of investment or worth of sales this year, right? So, and how do I motivate my sales team to ensure that they work on their goals and 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 what is expected from them? So that's why we have something called KPI, key performance indicator. Obviously, you know, when people hear about the word sales, they often associate sales with money, which is normal because obviously that's one of the main job, right? To bring the money by selling the product. Now, obviously, when you're building a KPI, the key performance indicator, you need to factor a couple of things into consideration based on uh, the first thing is the actions, what the sales team should take, and outcome based on the action, right? Obviously, if you are a company who has predefined set of actions which sales team should be uh, considering as a part of their day-to-day job, and then you can rest assured that you will have somewhat similar outcome or even better, right? For instance, if you're a salesperson, right, it's obviously expected that you follow up with the customer either in the form of a call or in the form of an email, or perhaps by meeting face to face, right, whichever works, right? Obviously, in today's time, which is 2023, sorry, 2024, um, so it's normal that people, even though we are faced up the face of a COVID, so people have started to going back to the normal routine, right? So you can either have a conversation with a customer using Teams call as a part of a follow up to say, hey, you remember last time we had a conversation? I just reaching out to check how you feel about the product. Do you need any assistance? Kind of things, right? And what might happen as a part of an action, the client might say, the potential client customer might say, hey, I have these questions. If you could address it before I make the buying decision. So those are the actions and those are the outcomes, right? So your KPIs obviously um, should measure that. So let's look at some of the activities and some of the outcomes based on the activity. Because the reason why I wanted to mention this, if you're running a company where if you're managing a sales team, obviously, if you're planning to make a KPI, I mean, obviously every company is different, but just from my perspective, right? Like I said, if I have certain expectation from a sales team, right? They should be trying to reach out the customer and bring, this much amount of money based, and that's what determined their one of the performance. So, but that's not always the case. Sometimes, for whatever reason, they were not able to hit that target. So, when that happens, you obviously have to go back to the drawing board or have to see your key KPIs to see what can we do to improve it, what activity we can include extra so that sales people can deliver better next time, right? So, activity measures, right? These are the activity measures: calls made, email sent, meeting set, voicemails, IP logins to ensure that from where the sales people are logging in to CRM system, on-site visit, webinar attendance. This is important, right? If you talk to a customer and let's say your company is hosting a webinar, and if you convince your customer to attend the webinar so that they can understand the better value or with respect to your product, so that will be another action as a salesperson you can do, right? And obviously it's good to leave voicemail message to say, hey, for whatever reason, right? At times we all know that when people try to reach out, you may not be able to attend. Maybe you're in a meeting, maybe you're driving, maybe you're busy with something else, right? So it's a courtesy to leave the voicemail to say, hi, I'm so and so person, I'm calling you for this reason, would you mind reaching out, or can you tell me what's the best time I can reach out? Something similar, right? So this way the client knows they are appreciated, and the business want to engage with them. So, and what's the outcome, right? Let's say you as a sales team has done all of this, and what is that we are expecting an outcome from it, right? Obviously revenue, attainment, new logos means the newly signed customer, the lead generated. So what happens is a customer might be interested in a product and they're willing to sign up. Or sometimes what happens, other scenario, you have a potential customer which has a potential, you have potential future customer, and they were waiting for, say, for instance, some query, and your action, what we discussed in the previous, um, the 5 minutes ago, they would probably, so as a base of your action, let's say you decide to have follow up, and that follow up resulted in better understanding, they might be willing to convert that lead, they might be willing to buy the product. So you have opportunity to convert the leads into an opportunity. Retention, how can we make sure that we retain our customer? And also, you know, customer lifespan, how long in a renewable, customer has been with the business, right? So those kind of things. So these are some information from a KPI perspective, and you can very well take it, to your own business if you like. And sometimes you also want to make sure that the quality you invest, or how do I put it this way? Emails, for instance, right? Let's talk about emails. You wanted to follow up, right, with the customer, and please make sure that the email is more personalized and the tone is correct, and you're trying to address customer query in an efficient way rather than sending out a generic email, right? Because what happens if you're sending out a mass email to say 1,000 customers with no generic addressing, or sorry, with no specific addressing to a specific customer, then it becomes like an automated email, and mostly customer will tend to ignore it. So that's why you can use the mail merge field or other stuff, right? So that you can say, dear X and Y Z person, and dear associated with this company. So mail merge is very good. Like if you're even sending out a templates, right? Invoice stuff to a specific customer, or for that matter, any kind of questionnaire, you can use different templates. Conga is one of it. You can use it. So I've used in the past, so it's very efficient. So yeah, so remember that, right? Whatever you try to do, make sure that you know it addressed to a specific customer rather than sending out a mass email, because that won't really fit the requirement. Because the reason why I'm saying, if someone sends to me a promotion, and if it's not addressing me, if it's a generic, you know, so and so, then I would probably shift delete it. That's how I work. I mean, I get lots of emails, so I delete most of them because I don't read most of them unless it's specifically addressed to me. So that's one thing you need to factor that when you're dealing with a customer. Okay, now obviously, you have built a KPI, you have an amazing sales team. Now, what could you do to ensure your sales team is motivated? Obviously, you don't want to have a team which get burned and no appreciation whatsoever and no incentive. Then what will happen? Your rock star will leave. And when your rock star will leave, your company performance will crumble. That always happens, right? I've seen not only in the sales ecosystem, I've seen in different places, right? It's very important to make sure that you motivate your employees, right? There are intrinsic way and extrinsic way, right? Intrinsic way is like you can give, you can appreciate them in the social media platform or in the LinkedIn, or you can appreciate in front of entire business. Extrinsic is something, you can reward them in the form of commission, extra money, something like that, right? In monetary form, or you can send them for a holiday. Let's say I've seen sometimes the sales rock stars get sent to, say, Caribbean island with the family for a holiday, or to, maybe somewhere else. Or sometimes what they do, they give them with fancy iPads or MacBook or whatever. Or sometimes I've even seen, right, they give them with cars or motorbikes. It happens, right? So these are extrinsic values, and what this will do, this will motivate your sales team to deliver even more next time, right? So, and if you ask me, is intrinsic way better or extrinsic way better? So I would say it depends, right? Sometimes you need to factor that balance. At times, I believe the combination of both will do the job. Obviously, you don't want to. What happens is that some people or some resource, they rely more on sell praise. So what that means is that some people prefer more appreciation in the form of a appreciation in front of a company or a title change, rather than worrying about more monetary benefit. Whereas some people care about just the monetary benefit, whereas some people care about both. So you need to factor that, right, based on the kind of people you work with. So, and once you have that in place, you can assure that your team will deliver according to your expectation. And when that happens, the sales, your pipeline will improve, sales pipeline will improve, and your revenue will go up. So, which is a pretty good, right? And and also, one thing you have to remember, right? There might be a case where you might have, extremely performing. You have rock stars in your team, right? Where who will do any kind of selling and bring lots of money. But at the same time, there might be a scenario where you might also encounter people who are not so great for whatever reason. So you cannot use a rock star as an example to bully them. That's not really great, right? You have to motivate, people based on the circumstance, right? And so please remember that a rock star should not be used as a benchmark to judge other salespeople, because then what that will do is other people will feel like let down. They will feel quite resentful because they start to self doubt, which can really kill your sales team, right? So you got to balance that. You have to factor that into consideration if you are a sales manager, right? You just need to see how you motivate them in the right way. So that's pretty much I wanted to cover today, but I thought that this is an important topic you should know. So that being said, hope you guys have an amazing Wednesday. Adios.